Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you're ready to take on your next paying clients, I have good news. My free 4 Basics of Client Attraction and How to Stand Out class is live at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. In the class, you're going to learn the top 2 traits I recommend for most coaches and entrepreneurs if they really want to turn this into a career. You're going to learn how you can build demand for your services and stop getting crickets on your posts. You're going to learn the sales roadmap I used to improve my sales conversion rate and help my clients do the same. And you're going to learn so much more. So go to haileyrowe.com/client-attraction and get your copy of the class today. LinkedIn lead gen client of mine. And also she is a motivational interviewer and a trainer and coach in motivational interviewing. And so I thought it'd be useful for us coaches here who want to be great with our clients and help our clients as much as possible to learn a little bit about that and how we can apply it to our business and coaching ourselves, coaching our clients, all that good stuff. So Julia, first, why don't you share a little bit about how you got into what you do, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Thanks for having me on here, Hailey. It's great to see you again after our work together. So I am a nutrition counselor and intuitive eating coach. And in my nutrition master's degree, I learned about motivational interviewing and was really fascinated about the approach because it's not counseling, but it's not, and it's not telling people what to do. It's really fostering them through the process of the change that they want to make, whether it's, and in my case, it's usually around nutrition and diet and lifestyle changes. And so through my process in becoming better with working with clients, I've just really mastered the skills of motivational interviewing and fell in love with it, mostly because of how my clients respond when I'm in that motivational interviewing posture, using the skills, because it builds this great rapport. And it's like active listening on steroids in a way that you are helping the client really feel validated and heard, and then moved along in their process of change at a pace that's really working for them. And so people have this like almost like visceral reaction of like relief and appreciation for the way that they're able to be heard. And then seeing people make the changes that are best for them in the situation that they're in versus sort of pushing an agenda is way more exciting and helpful on my end as a coach, because I'm in a posture of really supporting them where they are. And then the client is actually able to make the incremental changes at the pace that's best for them. And so they're feeling more confident and secure, and the changes are more long lasting. And so that's why I really fell in love with it. And so in addition to my nutrition counseling, I'm transitioning into doing more training of motivational interviewing because I found it so effective in my work.
I love that. And I love the phrase active listening on steroids. That's a great So, and I agree that some coaches, like when I've received coaching from coaches, I sometimes have this feeling just even before they've coached me or solved the problem or done any like consulting or coaching, the fact that they're listening, and sometimes they don't even have to say anything. It's more just the body language or the way I'm feeling heard and seen that takes such a load off, and you just feel so much better processing your thoughts. So what would be maybe an example of like what causes clients to tense up, tighten up, feel overwhelmed? That's maybe not a motivational interviewing approach, or like the wrong way to go about it compared to what motivational interviewing would be or look like in an example.
Yeah. So oftentimes when people they'll start to talk about something that they want to do. and or their resistance to doing it, right? Like, so, someone says that they want to be drinking more water, but they really hate drinking water and they don't like the taste of it and all of this stuff. So usually the instinct of the coach or someone trying to help is to like go into problem solving mode and be like, well, have you ever tried, seltzer or putting some juice in it or like making herbal teas or, coming up with all of these ideas, right? But the person has just been talking about how they don't like water and they don't really want to be drinking water. And then you present these ideas of like how to actually do it. It almost creates this tension, and and the instinct on the client's perspective is actually to keep pushing back. Like, no, their brain is starting to still think about how they can't do all of those things, or they've tried it and it hasn't worked. And so it ends up creating this tension between the client and the coach, where it's the client that's having a hard time with it, the coach that has the answers and is telling them what to do. And then like, well, how do you move forward? The client starts to feel like they have to try something, but they know they're going to fail. And so this is just like everything else in my life. And so the way that motivational interviewing is really different is that you lean into that ambivalence, and you actually listen to them and say, yeah, for you, drinking water is really hard. And it's been challenging for you to increase it in the past, even though it's helpful to your health. And they're like, yeah. And now they feel heard and they're more relaxed. They have nothing that they need to defend against because they feel heard. And then you can go into open questions about like, what have you tried in the past? Or, why is it really important to you? And so the point of motivational interviewing is to really get the person talking about why they really want to make the change, why it's really important to them, the skills and resources that they already have inside themselves to have that confidence that they could actually start making a change. And then to help them to work through that ambivalence that like, I want to, but these are all the reasons why I can't. And instead of like stopping that, like really working with that so that they can work it out inside themselves, that even though it feels hard and I don't really like it, these are the ideas that I have that I can change it. Because the more that the client is the one that comes up with the ideas, from brain science, we know that like if we're the one thinking it through and we're the one that are actually like talking about the things that we want to do, the more likely we're going to take action, and that those new neural pathways are going to be created for us to have success in our life. And so in a way, it's as a coach, you're providing the feedback and being a mirror to the client, and being skilled in the type of when you ask questions and the type of questions you ask in order to help them along their process.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I love that example. And I think this actually could apply a lot to sales as well. Like anytime you're on a sales call or you are in your sales phase of your webinar or whatever, you really want it to be the client's idea, not you saying you should do this. Or like when you address an objection, you don't want to be like, well, here's all the reasons why it's actually not that expensive. You want it to instead be like, well, what's coming up for you? What, is there do you see options for how you could make it work aside from the finances? Is there something else bothering you? Like asking questions and letting the other person come to their own solution can really benefit you, not just with coaching, but with selling. And I think a lot of people think coaching and selling are different, but when you can start to see it as asking questions, being intuitive, listening, helping someone come to their own solution or decision, then sales becomes less like icky feeling, and you become better at it because you're just like, I'm just curious, right?
Right. Yeah. And so the really cool thing about motivational interviewing is that you take this different stance of like the person that you're talking with has full autonomy in their life. And they're the ones that are an expert in their life. And so it helps with that delineation of responsibility. And so it helps to not take on it helps to create that boundary of not taking on responsibility for the outcomes. And so you get less attached to what they're going to say in the sales call and more focused on how can I help this person make a valuable decision that's based on what's really going to be good and important for them in their life. And so it shifts your whole kind of frame of reference so that you are more at ease and in your own confidence and in your own responsibility, and then trusting them to have the autonomy in their own life.
I love that. Yeah. So what maybe would be also, do you have any ways you personally, Julia, use motivational interviewing with yourself, like to coach yourself ever? Is there ways to do that?
Absolutely. I think that it has to do with like validating how you're feeling, right? So really, instead of trying to course correct too soon, like being curious with yourself about what's going on here, and asking yourself open-ended questions, and then that like incremental progress, right? Like instead of expecting so much of yourself before you're really ready, like really saying like, okay, what is the next best step that I can take within the frame of what I feel ready for, and I have the resources for, and that I feel confident I can do.
I love that. And what about imposter syndrome? Because I know a lot of coaches, when they first start out, they feel like, oh, I'm not enough as a coach. I need more skill sets. I need more tools. I need more answers. I need someone to tell me what to do, maybe on the side of my business. Like, what would you say to that? Any advice? Just because you are, you started your business, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, everything you need is within you. I had to keep, that was definitely one of the things that I had to keep saying to myself, is that I have everything in me. And the beautiful thing about having the motivational interviewing skills to fall back on is that it's not about having all of the answers. It's about being able to be in that posture of really listening to somebody and fostering them along their path and helping them to talk about what it is that's going on for them. Because like you said, Hailey, in the beginning, sometimes it's just having that person that's really listening to hear you and to help you, that helps you to just have the conversation you even need to have with yourself to move beyond that feeling of being stuck to your own aha moments about what you need to do next to move through. And so in the trainings that I've done with people, what coaches and other practitioners have said in the end is like, now I feel like I have this really clear set of professional tools to give me the confidence to kind of go into any conversation and be able to fall back on these tools and fall back in this posture of be allowing that person, just being there with that person in a collaborative role and having the tools to be able to help them think through and process what they want to do next.
Yeah, I love it. What about if somebody is a client and they are maybe resistant to this kind of approach? Maybe they're like, no, I just want you to tell me what to do. I just want you to give me answers. I just, and I call myself a strategist or consultant and a coach, because part of what I do in my Inner Circle program, as you've seen, is coach, but also sometimes they don't know what's the best, platform or how to upload a video to, I'm not going to say, right. What do you think, what comes up for you when you go log into LinkedIn? Like, where do you intuitively want to click the button? Like, no. So tell me more about, for people who are coaches and they want to stay in that coach mode, what do they do about clients who are like, no, just tell me what to do?
Yeah. So then some of it is reflecting back. So it's important for you to just know what the answer is and to get that information from somebody else. Like even just reflecting that back and knowing how to work with someone like that, and not taking, because oftentimes what happens is like you can feel it in your body, like, oh my God, I have to have the answer and fix this for this person. So it's probably that the client has a habit of looking for answers outside of themselves and and that you're probably not the first person who they've sought out to give them the answer to their problem. And it's not necessarily having the answer might not be what is going to solve their problem, but actually helping them even investigate why they're so stuck on just having the answer. So that's, depending on the client, that's one way that I would approach it. Another way is that within motivational interviewing, there is that opportunity, because most of us are an expert in something. We have either lived experience or a lot of training. Like, obviously, I'm a nutritionist, and so people are coming to me for information about how to shift their diet. And so there is a point in the conversation where you say, like, okay, are you open to some feedback, or would you like some helpful hints about this situation? So there's a process of asking for permission in that role of like keeping them in autonomy. And then when they say, yes, I'm open to that, it's opening up their mind to actually receive information and take it in and process it and decide how they want to use it. And so you ask for permission, you provide information, and then you check in with them. Like, so how did that, with me explaining all of that, how does that land for you? What do you think you'll do with this? That kind of thing. So there is a process within motivational interviewing to be in that posture of providing information, but it's set up in a way where you're really engaging the person to like be asking for it and be open to it, and then really helping them think through how they're going to use it.
Okay. Yeah. Great advice. And what about, when people feel like I'm responsible, as a coach, we take on a lot of responsibility, right? And we, of course, want our clients to get results and get results as quickly as possible. And, I sometimes find it helpful to take responsibility for that and be like, there's so much within my, how I can support this person that will help them get results. But I also could see how it can be really stressful and feel like it's all on you. And it's not, like sometimes take 110% of the responsibility. And even if the client is not the perfect client, like you feel bad because they're, not getting results because they didn't show up and they're not doing anything or whatever. So like, how do you manage that? Because I think a lot of coaches feel really a lot of pressure to get their clients results. And sometimes that even interferes with how they show up and approach coaching.
Absolutely. This is like the main reason why I love motivational interviewing, because it is the solution to this very challenge, mainly because two reasons. One is what I've been talking about in terms of that, like when you're in that posture of motivational interviewing, you're taking on a collaborative approach, and you're being really clear that the client has full autonomy in their life, and that your role is there to walk alongside them and to provide the kind of guidance and support and helpful ways of talking through things, and then resources in order to move them along their path. So in the way that the relationship is set up, and the way that you're using the skills and the posture and the mindset that you're taking on when you're doing motivational interviewing sort of takes care of it a little bit. And then the other piece is that often, like in coaching and in the way that we sell our programs to people, we're like, you're at A, and then you're going to get, you want to be at B. And so I'm going to help you with this process to get there, right? Well, the truth is that any process of change is not linear. Not everybody is starting at the same starting line. And so to think that you could possibly magically, like you have some sort of power to actually move any human being, no matter where they're starting from, and get them to this end goal is unrealistic. And so that's where you're working with a human being that is at their own starting point and has the capacity to move however far they can in that process of getting to where they're going. And so it's about shifting the idea of goals a little bit, where like you make goals with people, but then it's about how to track incremental change in that process, and how to acknowledge for yourself as a coach, as you're talking to that person, as well as the person themselves, like where they are in that process of change. So some people, this is where like the process of change and motivational interviewing come together, where you have to go through all of these stages of like pre-contemplation, contemplation, experimenting, and planning before you're taking action. So what often happens in our coaching relationships is like, how do we get people to action super fast? And we skip all of this process in between, which is going to continually trip people up if they don't get to go through this process. And so with motivational interviewing, it's so much about helping them through this process so that we know and we're really encouraging them to start taking action when they're really ready to take action, and to help them give themselves credit for the mindset changes they've made and for the experimenting they're doing and the preparation they're doing, and helping them see how all of that is building up to them then being successful and taking action when they're ready.
Yes, Julia, I am a proud coach right now of you, because that response, you could make a whole webinar about like the top reason why your clients aren't getting results, or the top reason why your clients like fizzle out of coaching or whatever, and explain that they're skipping those pre-contemplation.
Yes.
That's a webinar right there. I love it. Now I'm bought in. I'm like, oh yeah, I need motivational interviewing. So I love it. Okay. So now shifting gears, I want to talk a little bit about, we work together in LinkedIn lead gen in the inner circle a little bit. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about like, tell me about what led you to want to use LinkedIn for your business. Where were you before we started the lead gen process? That kind of thing.
Okay. So I had done a lot of work in promoting my nutrition counseling practice. And so this felt like a whole new can of worms to open up, to be like motivational interviewing and how do I form my message and all of that. And so I really wanted to use the LinkedIn platform in order to connect with other professionals more with this offering. And I'm the kind of person who just like, a lot of people can go onto these platforms and intuitively, they like have fun with like figuring it out and looking at what other people are doing and then working on their profile. For me, it's like a dreaded task. And so to be able to work with someone who's already an expert in the platform, who's going to be able to hear where I'm at and what I'm doing, and then be able to send me down the right path and talk me through how to articulate what I'm doing and get that all formulated, was just, I knew that I wanted to pay someone to help me to do that. And I was so grateful that I found you. And so it was really about kind of just zeroing in on this new work and how to articulate it. And then again, not wanting to sit there for hours figuring out how to connect with people, and being able to use the system that you have with lead generation. And it was great to have your proven effective connection prompts and the ability to kind of bounce ideas off of each other and try some things and then pivot, and have James in the background just sending the messages out. So I was here in sort of receiving mode of like this abundance of people reaching out and wanting to have conversations with me. And I was sort of blown away with like, and so grateful for putting the work in with you, but then being able to kind of sit back and then be in that receiving mode and then do what I do best, which is building relationships with people and having conversations and seeing where they will go.
Amazing. Yeah. So, our process for people listening to the podcast is we come up with who you want to be targeting on LinkedIn, what you want to be saying to them to start the conversations and lead to either calls or email subscribers or whatever you're trying to do. Or some people like to try to book podcasts or things like that. So tell me a little bit about any wins you've had, like, maybe you've booked some calls, or maybe you've had some good collabs or anything like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one thing is like going back to the whole, you're at point A and then you want to be at point B, and you always go into these things with some sort of idea of what it's going to create. And luckily, I'm someone who likes to be open to the process and see what's going to come out of it. And so even though I had an idea of like the amount of money I wanted to make back from it and that kind of thing. What's really been exciting is the different connections that have happened. And it's almost like it's improved the quality of my work life in the fact that I'm making these connections. Because for so many of us that are solo entrepreneurs working at home and meeting with clients, but then it's kind of like once you're done with the client sessions and you're looking at your own to-do list of what you need to do in your business, it's like, oh my God, it's just me and I have to make all of these things happen. And so just by the sheer fact of having these networking calls with people and learning about what other people are doing and having these generative conversations of like-minded things, it just is like creating so much more energy and motivation behind my own work, like feeling like I'm not alone in this process of like what I'm trying to do in the world, because there's other people that are in like-minded and in similar situations. And so that positive energy and enthusiasm has been one win. Another has been some great collaborations that I've made. So I'm starting a book group with one woman who we just liked a lot of the different books that we've been reading. And so we've started a book group. I got in touch with an organization called Forum, which is a new platform that is like a hub for support groups. And so they're matching new facilitators with people in the community that want support for all sorts of different things. And so I'm actually starting a support group for women around intuitive eating, which is my specialty in nutrition. And this is something that's been on the back of my mind, but now being connected with this organization that helps with the marketing piece and the platform and everything, it's just kind of soaring forward. And then I've just had these really great conversations with different people where I'm learning from them and we're learning from each other's work. And then we're helping to, cross-pollinate and promote one another on the platform. And so it's like, who knows where it will go from there.
Yeah. And what you don't see right now, like, because I always in, marketing, there's planting seeds and there's a buyer cycle. Like some people will sit on your email list or sit in your LinkedIn audience for 3 years. And then they'll be like, okay, I'm ready. And
Right.
Some people it'll be 90 days and some people are ready buyers and they're, what is it called? Like pioneers, like they want to be the first to do something and they'll be ready to go faster. But everybody's a different camp. But the truth is you get to keep all of those LinkedIn connections you have and they continue to be nurtured by you and you can continue to check in with them. And we do blasts sometimes. I don't know if we did a blast for you. Did we do a blast?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah. So sometimes too with clients, we'll do a blast to all their current connections. Like if it's a while to do a check-in or, hey, New Year's is around the corner. We have a new free gift or whatever. But so what I love about this is that you're building audience and you're not sitting around tediously having to track every person down and find which title they have and make sure they're the right. That's what the lead gen does. So what would be, is there anything else just as far as working with me? Because you've worked with me a little bit in a coaching sense and a little bit in the lead gen sense. Anything in particular that you found useful or valuable or that you liked about the approach or anything like that?
Yeah, it was great being a part of the inner circle. Some of it was like learning from learning from other people that were in the group and, being like, oh, other people are struggling with the same thing. Like, I don't feel so bad. I'm not alone. And then things that I loved about your coaching and then the resources that you had, like, I just kept being amazed. Like, no matter what someone came up with, you were like, oh, I'll send you a template for that, or and it was like, no problem. Like it just seemed like a breeze to you to like find the thing and all of your different filing mechanisms and send them along. And that was super helpful. And then the other piece was, I'm not great with marketing speak. I can tell you all about what I love to do and success stories with clients. But then to really hone it into that like clear marketing speak, I loved being able to send you things and the responses that you sent back. And it was like transformed and it was so helpful.
Amazing. Yeah. And what would you say? Because a lot of people are scared to invest more in their business because maybe they got a certification or maybe they've tried things in the past and they didn't follow through on a course they bought or something like that. And I know investing is a scary thing for anyone, and probably
Mm-hmm.
you were scared. I don't know, but maybe.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to somebody like really afraid or concerned about that?
Yeah, it was definitely investment for me, and it was pushing my edges a little bit, but I knew that I wasn't going to move as far as I knew I could move with help on my own. And so it was worth it to me to pay somebody, and because of the like super hands-on help that you're giving in terms of the lead generation, but then also the editing of the marketing materials, it felt like it was exactly what I needed, and it has definitely made my life easier. And so I'm like, not even think I don't even think about the money that I spent, because it's just now I have the product of it, and it's helping me in my business and helping me each day feel like I'm more successful. So
Nice.
definitely worth it.
Cool. What were maybe some things you got clarity on, or maybe mindset shifts, or any wins that you've encountered?
Yeah. One of the things has been around, I'll call it taking responsibility for my time. There were a number of calls in the inner circle where people would be like, "Oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed with my to-do list." And I had the same issue sometimes. And so that a lot of the different ideas that you had about taking responsibility for, like, you're the master of your calendar and you can decide what your priorities are. Like, I don't know why it was just this aha moment of like, oh, right. Like, I'm the decider here. Like, just that reminder of like, oh, right. I'm my own boss. I can make these decisions. And then having tools like Habit Driven, I've still been using that, and having tools like a different app or your way of starting your day, um, to be able to create more of a rhythm and be able to say like, okay, these are the things that I need to do every day to keep myself balanced, to keep myself on par, to like get myself to the next step that I want to take. And so that that kind of structure, but flexibility with it and having tools has really been helpful.
I love it. Amazing. Yes, we are the creators of our calendar and we get to decide how long something takes us. I'm going to spend 20 minutes on this email, and if it takes longer, I'm either going to be okay with that or I'm going to send it the way it is and not perfect it all day
Exactly.
long. I love
Exactly.
it. Okay. And one of the cool things Julia is going to be doing is being a guest expert in the inner circle soon. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to do a guest talk and kind of deep dive on motivational interviewing and help my clients with it a little bit more, which is very fun
Yeah.
and exciting. So if you want to see more from Julia, obviously connect with her here on LinkedIn. And Julia, where
Mm-hmm.
else can people find you, stay connected, all that good stuff?
Yeah, mostly on LinkedIn. I also have a Facebook page. You can just look up Julia Hampton and friend me. And then I have a website, nourish-vitality.com, which is mostly my nutrition counseling practice.
Okay. And that brings up one more question because you have
Mm-hmm.
two businesses, kind of, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How do you juggle that or not get confused? Like, not, I hear sometimes people that they're like, oh, like so much. Like, how do you
Yeah.
help do you balance that?
Yeah. Um, I'm working that out. I'm working that out. I don't have gotten like a ton of motivational interviewing training gigs yet. And so I'm not quite, I think that there's going to be a time where it might get a little more like, ooh, where's the balance here? But I'm the kind of person that follows my passions. And what I'm actually noticing is the underlying things that I love to get to with people are really achievable through both of those avenues. And so it's really just like, where is a person coming from and what kind of skills are they looking for? But oftentimes we're still like getting to the heart of similar issues. And so, in that way, within myself and the way that I'm approaching my work, it doesn't feel like totally two separate different things. And I'm just willing to kind of see where things go. And with that mindset of like, I get to decide, like I get to make these decisions, it feels less like I'm going to get carried off on some huge wave that I'm not going to be able to surf, and more like, oh, I'll be able to make a decision that's right for me all along the way. And I'll know what that best next step is, and trusting that in myself is what's helping.
Yeah. And you bring up a great point that a lot of people worry about these issues that they don't even have yet. And it's like, hold on, like, let's have that problem of too many clients.
Right.
And then we'll scale you. We'll start your group program. We'll like do, but a lot of people don't even let themselves get started because they're thinking 45 steps ahead.
Right.
And it drains them, and then they don't even get started. So I think you bring up a very good mindset shift there. So thank you so much for being here. And obviously, it's just the beginning. You're just growing your LinkedIn. You're getting out there more. And I know you're going to continue to go far and grow. And I'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful, and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.